The Makah Nation is a tribe located in the Pacific Northwest that has had a treaty signed with the state and the government that has allowed them to hunt gray whales, but they haven't had authorization to do so since there's been quite a few problems with unusual mortality events. These include thousands of whales, gray whales, dying over the time span of a short amount of time, sometimes months, maybe 2 years or 3, and they'll wash up on beaches. And the first one happened in 1997 to 1998, where the population went from approximately 21K to 16K, and that was the first time the Makah tribe ever actually initiated the treaty agreement to actually have the ability to hunt gray whales. So that's a little bit of a red flag. The reasoning for them to actually want the treaty signed in 1998 was because of the population lacking at that time in the unusual mortality events. And then there is currently another unusual mortality event happening starting in 2019, and that's when they started to argue again for more treaties. This was part of their tactics, and one of the problems with their locations as well is that they're located on the Pacific Northwest coast, where they spend their summers in Alaska and go down to the Gulf of Mexico or in the equatorial waters where it's warmer during this winter. And when they go down during the winter, they aren't eating as much because they're traveling. And so the ones that are making it back for summer up to the Alaskan waters are ones that are more stronger, and every single whale that makes it counts because it adds to the population. This is part of the food chain, just as orcas eat these whales, and the orcas have actually had problems in their own populations a lot recently. Our own resident orcas around Washington State right now are actually struggling to keep their numbers up, with their babies dying off each year, more babies dying than being born, so it's not really a good outlook for the orca populations as well. And sustainability, in terms of sustainability, it's just not a sustainable practice to allow the Makah Nation, just them, to hunt gray whales, when I'm sure there are many other tribes across the indigenous Northwest, Pacific Northwest, and America and Canada that have also hunted gray whales in the past that have ceased to do so because of endangerment and overfishing and overpopulation. It is just strictly not sustainable. I understand that they have a treaty that was signed, but it was signed in a year when the population was actually dipping under to such a level that was actually worrisome. And they are a very important position in the food chain, being such a large creature, and taking just one away could really affect the whole entire food chain. That's one less whale for an orca to eat. That's one less meal for a whole entire feast of krill. That's one less thing in the food chain. And with the ability for the indigenous tribes and their sustainable practices in the first place, they were already practicing sustainable ways before colonization, and then now it's no longer sustainable, but they also know how to use these lands the best, utilize the lands in the best capacity. So I think that it would be best if they work together with the government to provide the organization to get the food and sustainability that they need, and in order to practice their culture and traditions in a way that they can continue on in the future and will suit the changing times.